Everybody has issues professionally, and everybody has to develop that kind of determination and grit to keep going.
You got to be patient. You got to continue to hit the streets. I don't care what age you are. If you aren't there hunting every single day and understanding, you're not going to find attrition happens today with the industry the way it is and the consolidations or what have you. We're extremely busy right now.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Repackaging Revolution. I'm your host, David Marinak. Steve Reeder has been in the corrugated and folding carton business for over 25 years, with an additional 5 years in the commercial print business. He's a career packaging guy and is always willing to lend a helping hand, competitor or not, and he's always looking for new ideas to share with his team and anyone else like me. Steve has had his bumps and bruises along the way, and yet he's kept a positive spirit. Steve Reeder, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
So I always wanted to do this for the simple fact that from a career packaging guy to another career packaging guy, there's just a lot of similarities and stuff that, in our world, and we hit it off right from the get-go. And I just figured instead of me yipping and yapping, I'd invite you on just to kind of share some of that old wisdom, so to speak, that, just anything that you've learned, because we've got a lot of young people that, Steve, I think could be great for the packaging industry, but they need to know a little bit more. They need the support. And sadly, we were talking the other day when we were putting the show together, we've seen a lot of these companies that have kind of, thrown these people against the wall, almost like spaghetti. Yeah, figure it out. And frankly, you and I, have been around long enough to know that doesn't really bear a whole lot of fruit. So give us a little background on how you got into the packaging space to begin with, and we'll go from there.
Well, actually, I started off my career going to college, working my way up. I ended up over at a company, Delta Lithograph Company.
Oh, yeah.
It's a Bertelsmann company. I graduated in finance. So
me too.
I was the controller for the company and soon became the CFO for the company.
Wow.
German company, worked there for about 9 years. And then 94, don't want to outdate my age. 94, we had the big earthquake.
Oh, yeah, right.
About $15 million worth of damage at our company. Thank goodness it was Martin Luther King birthday on that Monday.
Wow.
So our night crew was not working, or else we would have walked in a completely different situation. The web presses and things like that, all the paper and things like that tumbled like it was Tinker Toys.
No kidding.
And just completely destroyed our presses and what have you. And so I needed to find somebody to help source out the printing, at least on the sheet fed stuff, and came across a company to be able to help me out. Was working with them, and then the fun became the Germans didn't realize what kind of damage could happen in an earthquake.
Yeah.
So they started bringing more and more people to the company. And where the president and myself were running the company, it no longer was that. The corporate headquarters had started bringing in more people, and it just wasn't fun anymore.
No kidding. Interesting.
The company that I had bought the sheet fed from actually told me, he says, "Hey, why don't you come over here, take all my and become a trade company? You take your die cutters, your gluers, your folders, your stitchers, your everything, and do that." So I did.
Nice.
A company called PCI.
Yeah.
Went ahead and did that for a while, and then his company actually moved to Mexico, and so I took over the whole company and called it Graphic Press.
No kidding.
Went ahead and did that. So we were doing not only commercial work, but we were getting more and more involved in packaging, because the commercial end of the business was for sure shrinking and getting less and less opportunities. Let's put it that way.
Well, let's focus on that. So the company was Graphic Press.
Yeah, Graphics Press. Yes,
Graphics Press, and again, you were at that particular point. Are we early 2000s? If you think
96.
Okay, 96. Got it. So I can relate to that. And so again, the internet was very new. It wasn't like, were you mainly on the West Coast? Were you kind of like an early adopter into the web at this point, Steve? What were you doing to kind of, or did business find you, so to speak?
No, it was the business. I wish it would find me.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
No, it was definitely West Coast,
Yeah.
centrally located to Los Angeles area.
Right.
Those were the days where you really hunted. You went to the door to door to look for opportunities that we could go ahead and help people with.
Yeah.
We did have the web. It's kind of funny because you look at right now, I can't drive anywhere without a GPS. And back then we had nothing. And how did I survive? I don't know, but we did it.
Yeah, oh yeah. And I just remember every vacation was first it was the maps, and then it became going to AAA for the triptych.
Yeah.
And my mother would carry this, 7-foot long map showing where to drive. And here we are now, just kind of like getting it fed to us through our speakers and our ears. It's crazy. Turn left, turn right, whatever. Let's focus a little bit on those early days, because there's, like you and I were talking about, when we first got into this space, you could walk into a factory, you go in through the back door, and you and I both had similar stories where we realized that if we wanted to get successful, we couldn't wait for the phone to ring. We needed to go and make our own action. And whether that is walking through or knocking on doors or just walking in the back of a factory, right? And just going and walking around. Tell us a little bit about that, because that's what I want to try to distill, among other things, to the young people, that we had to do the same damn thing. There is no shortcut to just kind of get your nose bloodied every now and then.
Well, we still do the same thing. It's just a little bit different.
Exactly. Good point.
We don't have it as easy as we did back then, because
Right.
there were receptionists at the front door that you could go ahead and try to
Schmooze.
be able to be able to get in the doors. You would go back into the warehouse to talk to the people that are doing the shipping, because they knew what they were ordering. They're the ones that actually did the ordering, not the purchasing person.
Sure. Yeah.
So that was a great, opportunity and that still is viable. I think the receptionist area, there's less and less people that have a receptionist at the door, that the door is open and it's not locked and has a bill soliciting sticker on there. So the better part is for sure is to go to the back door, to talk to the shipping department, to find out what they're buying, see, who that person is, what their email address is, what their phone number is,
right?
All the information that you can get. But the resources that are had. I mean, we didn't have Zoom info back then, so it was pretty difficult, to be able to find something. I think LinkedIn itself was not even as strong as it is today.
No.
So the resources was really drive by every single day to a neighborhood where there was manufacturers that you hoped you landed a good one.
Yeah. And were you looking at that particular point you had mentioned packaging with Graphics Press, it kind of like, you had mentioned the equipment from the one company, and now you're in Graphics Press, but at that point, were you getting into non-corrugated or folding cartons or other types of packaging? Or were you kind of still in that paper corrugated folding carton world?
Actually, it was just folding cartons and paper. So the commercial print and folding cartons. Not until I went ahead and shut that company down for various reasons we won't get into.
No, it's all good.
And we evolved it into the company that's in Tijuana, and that sooner later than that we actually became a corrugate. We ended up with some acetrates, and that's where the corrugate came. Never brown boxes or anything like that. It was just all high end corrugated boxes.
So now in that particular space, you're still focused mainly on the paper side of things more than ever. Is that true?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Right now, I'm actually working over at Bay City's Packaging and Design. A phenomenal company that we've got about 30 designers to help our customers be able to bring product to market. They're heavily involved in all retail marketplaces, and not only that, they do brown boxes and flexo packaging and things like that. But They really are shining big time with the displays, without a doubt.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. I mean, I always love to hear the success stories, and you had always spoken so highly of them. And you had mentioned now companies will come in there and say, okay, I've got my brownie mix, so to speak. And not only do I need it packaged, like in the individual package, whether that's a pouch or a tin or whatever it is, then your folks can take it conceptually into even the displays and even the master shippers and blah, blah, blah. Is that a fair statement?
That is absolutely correct. And that's the beauty of this company. Not only, it not only does it take that design itself that we're looking for the customer. I'm working with one right now. There are these bath bombs. Yeah. And, they're going into, all the different Whole Foods and retail and things like that. So they've asked, they sent me their product. I've got it going over to my structural sample right now. Once he goes ahead and makes a line drawing for me, pretty much a die line, it'll go to my 3D dimensional. So I'll make a rendering out of it. After the rendering, the customer will say yes or no. We want to tweak it a little bit. Then I'll actually do a white sample or a printed sample. Bay Cities, we have actually 3 single pass digital presses. So we will actually give a sample to the customer with the print on it, so they can actually not only take it to their marketplace or where they're going, but actually be able to see it visually what it's going to look like.
Well, that's interesting because, that kind of value add stuff is really what separates us in the big picture wise. And that's what it's really interesting to me, because so many companies, Steve, today are going the opposite direction. And the value add, the more we can kind of, partner with people, hold their hand virtually, become their trusted ally, if you will. What do you guys do? So they find you guys like at a trade show, or is there how are they finding you? I think that's interesting to try to figure out.
Pretty much trade shows. I mean, thankfully trade shows are back in running again,
right?
Because, back in COVID days, there were no trade shows.
I know.
So yes, trade shows are a great opportunity. I think the best that separates us from everybody else is our design factor. A lot of companies are going ahead and say, hey, yeah, I'll go ahead and do a design for you. It's going to cost X dollars. And if you want a printed sample, it's going to cost X dollars. This is all part of our value added that we give to the customer. And it's just incredible because nobody does that. The company shuts down their press operations, actual manufacturing, to run these printed samples so we could take it to our customer and show them exactly what it's going to look like before it actually gets the final print.
Yeah, I just think that is such a brilliant strategy to do that too. It totally makes you guys stand out, and there's, the ability to just sort of pick up business that way is, it's something it's a lesson for everybody that's listening here that, sometimes you got to give before you get. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And you're going to win a few, you're going to lose a few, and that's just part of it. And, that's the cost of doing business. I haven't won all the businesses that I've done, samples for, but I'll tell you what, I get those next opportunities for sure.
Yeah. And we'll always have those people that try to take advantage and stroke the system. We've been around long enough to go like, all right, I gave you 1 sample, but I'm not doing 7 more. You can pay for those. They're not free or whatever it may be.
Sure, absolutely.
As long as there's, boundaries here, but what a great business model in order to do that. Let me ask you a question. So all of the other ancillary packaging, are you guys involved in at that particular point? So for example, this brownie mix, I'm making up brownie mix, but are they saying, no, you guys, and I just to clarify, I know the answer, but I want to make sure people understand. You guys are not doing the fulfillment there of filling the ingredients, correct?
Not filling the ingredients. Okay. We get that from the customers themselves.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
The full kitting and everything and ship it off. So our mainstream is really like we're working with the Costco program right now.
Yeah.
Not only am I doing the displays, I'm doing the trays. From the trays, I'm doing full pallets. And this is all kitting and everything like that. And then we ship it off. We're a preferred vendor for mostly all big boxes. Yeah. So it makes it very simple for us to go ahead and be able to do that turnkey for the customer, keep it clean. It might be a little bit more expensive than them trying to do it themselves, but we understand it.
Yeah.
You know, you get a return from Costco, and they don't want to take your pallets because you didn't do it correctly. You didn't put a blue pallet or a check pallet on there.
Exactly.
You're lost, you know,
Yeah.
and give it to the experience. It's worth it at the end of the day.
Well, and it's so interesting because I mean, I learned kind of like what you were describing with Costco. I learned from a former Kmart guy, and one of the things that I tried to explain to people is kind of what you were going through. It looks so easy on paper, you know, 40 by 48 pallet, and you can only go 45 high, blah blah blah. But when you got some meathead that doesn't do it right, and they kick it out, and they penalize you a certain amount per day because it's not done properly, that gets expensive really, really fast.
Absolutely.
And for you guys able to kind of navigate that, that's the thing I like about that setup, because there's a cost there. And again, there's and for you guys to handle that and allow them to sleep better at night, so to speak, and get it to you guys and not have to fuss with it. Call Steve and Steve will take care of it. That's a huge win all the way around. And no wonder why you guys are so busy. And I think I mean, good for you guys. I think that's very cool and unique in this industry. these
Yeah.
days.
And you look today with the industry the way it is and the consolidations and what have you, we're extremely busy right now.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of houses right now that, you know, that are struggling, that, you know, they're trying to figure out, you know, where to get that next customer.
Yeah.
But we've got a great reputation that really, you know, sets us apart. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, you guys are really standing out in a good way, and you've got that reputation, and it really kind of, you know, those will withstand any downturn, regardless. Yeah.
Well, we'll get our facilities not only in Los Angeles, but we also have Chicago. We actually just put in a single pass digital press in Chicago, also with our kitting operation. So we're hitting both sides of the United States and things like that to be able to reduce the costs also. So we might do half of it here in Los Angeles, half of it in Chicago. And, you know, both presses and things like that are G7. So our colors match it perfect.
Yeah, smart.
So, you know, that's a winner for us too.
Well, and of course, take it a step further. You can hit the certain distribution centers of Costco or wherever it's going without having to ship it across the country if you're doing it in Chicago. Yeah, it's such a smart business model. Are you guys handling any of the oddball stuff, the pouches, the bags, the film that contains the product, or is it already coming into you guys in those pouches and ready to go?
For the most, it comes in with us. However, we do, if we need to buy it out for the customer, we'll go ahead and do what we need to do. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that's one of those little niches that I've found, at least in my eyes. We've got a lot of the packaging resellers that are out there, Steve, and they're very good at I say very good with tongue in cheek. They're big on the commodity stuff. That's what they're good at. You know, the bubble wrap, the stretch wrap, the banding, shrink film. They want to sell you the piece of equipment. But I really want to kind of encourage packaging resellers as much as possible to look at that, look beyond that, get beyond into, just like you were describing, you know, you will, you know, take care of those customers if they say, Steve, I don't know where to go for a stand-up pouch. I would have no idea. And it's those kind of things that I think is really low-lying fruit, if you will, for today's packaging reseller. I think over the last 20 years, we just sort of, you know, hey, you guys can figure it out. Go call Thomas Register or, you know, now Zoom Info and see if you can get. But there's more to that. You know, there's more to it because not everybody's going to be Nestle's volume.
Sure.
And Nestle's wants to, you know, they'll certainly be integrated with the Amcors and the print packs and those, and that's great. But those companies that are a step below them, that's good business too. And to be able to strategically, you know, encourage the reseller today to look at those and not get so seduced with, it's got to be Nestle's volume. There's a lot of good business.
We do business with a lot of distributors and brokers, and one of the things that I find is a big issue is people are comfortable selling a brown box or stretch wrap and their companies themselves are saying, hey, listen, we need to increase our volumes 20%, 30% next year in 2025. You're not going to do it by selling stretch wrap. You've got to look outside the box. You've got to look at what is it that I can bring? How many customers
Yeah.
both you and I go into,
Yeah.
and they have the stretch wrap, and then they walk out, but yet there's folding cartons, or there's corrugated boxes, or there's other opportunities there that could go ahead and increase their value, and they're just not looking.
Well, let's stay with that, because I'm kind of going a little bit off script just because it's two friends talking here, but that's one of my biggest things. So colleague to colleague, what's the best way to get through to these guys? Because that's sort of what I've been posting about and blogging about and doing videos about guys, if you're already in the Cleveland Clinic and you're selling them stretch wrap and banding, have a conversation about their medical sterilization pouches. If you don't understand it, that's fine. Partner with somebody who does, that can give you the talking points. You don't have today's packaging reseller. I don't know if you've seen this, but they think that they have to control everything. They have to control all of my, and if they don't understand it to control it, then they don't pursue it and they walk right on by it. And I just think you don't have to be an expert at everything. You just need to, I don't know, but I'll figure that out, or I'll get you some answers tomorrow, or I'll get back to you. I mean, that's that disconnect that I think, and I wonder if you've seen the same. Today's reseller is like, we live in a, microwave, shake 'em, bake 'em society, and these guys want answers, and when am I getting paid? It's like, dude, no, there's a couple of steps before that. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, a lot of thoughts actually, because
Good.
I think our buyers today are completely different than what they were years ago.
I agree.
The buyers before were very educated. They understood what they needed. Today, unfortunately, the corporations are getting rid of the experience and bringing in, for lesser dollar, bringing in people and saying, just go ahead and get this and source it out for me. So they've got their book full as far as what they need to source. They're really trying to understand it a little bit better, but aren't getting the training that they need. Yeah. And at the same time, there might be a buyer there that not only is buying the shrink, but it's also buying the boxes. And whoever comes to them and says, hey, I could do this for you, they're doing it.
It's you, and that's been one of my that's so wide open to me and because first of all, you're exactly right. I remember back in the days, the buyers controlled all the cards. They handled the money, they handled the freight, they handled the negotiations, they handled the payment terms, they handled everything. Now, of course, they were making big money, so they're all whacked. So now we've got some clerk that does what the computer tells him or her to do. And that's okay if you're selling widgets, Steve. Yep. But if you're getting into something that needs protection and needs packaging that tells a story and needs packaging that helps the product sell at retail and all those other kind of things, Betty the clerk buyer who just thinks Uline is the only place to go, that's where things get. I get it too. And again, it's like, guys, there's a huge opportunity here. Betty the clerk buyer doesn't know, but you got to get past her. That's the other thing too. And I'd love to hear your take on that, because that's a huge step that today's reseller just is like, well, I got stopped at the door, or she's the buyer. Like, no, man, in this world, you got to get and find out the decision maker. And I've found, and I'm just going to throw this out there to you, and I try to teach our team the same. If you ask Betty the clerk qualifying questions, just anything. I mean, even if she's asking for, let's just say, stand-up pouches, and you're able to kind of push back on her and say, okay, is that 6 colors or 7 colors, Betty? And is that a film or a foil? Now, the point is that exposes Betty, who says, I don't know. Well, Betty, who should I'll do it. I'll do it, Betty. Who should I talk? Oh, that's Frank. Call Frank. And he's okay. So now but you got to have the what do you call it? The grit, the gumption, the chutzpah, as they say on the East Coast, to push through. But again, if you don't do that, you're stuck at the mercy of Betty. And Betty's just looking at a number. Okay, one's 2 cents, one's 3 cents. I'm going with a 2 cent. And it's just little things like this can make all the difference to not just that project, but the relationship at that company and building something beyond that. Because let's face it, when you talk with Frank, And if you find out Frank has been battling this issue for 5 years and he can't wait to get out of this, and Frank can tell you, look, dude, you solved this for me. I've got, a bunch of other stuff you can take off my plate because I'm working 18-hour days and I don't have time to do it. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
I hope you like this content. If you want more of it, I put together a Specialized Packaging Alliance, a group of packaging professionals that are in different facets of this industry. We have webinars, we have meetings. The idea is to share information about this great industry of packaging, whether that be from the sales side of things to the marketing, even to the end users. My point with this is I'd love to have you join us, the Specialized Packaging Alliance. Check out the link below to learn more. Thanks.
Any thoughts on what is, I think it goes back to today's reseller in a way, Steve, just haven't been either trained in role playing and having the self-confidence. Do you see any of that to kind of stand
They
tall?
haven't been trained. They haven't been trained. That's the thing. I like going into sales meetings and things, especially with distributors, meeting with a group of people. Maybe I've got 10 or 15 people that I'm working with.
Yeah.
I'm going to grab one or two of them. I'm not going to grab everybody. Somebody's very happy selling his, million boxes of brown boxes all day long. He's happy.
Yeah.
I can't change him.
Yeah.
But the people that are thinking outside the box or inside the box,
Right. Yeah.
are really interested and excited. I go out on appointments with people. I want to go ahead. You know what? I don't go ahead and represent myself as Bay Cities, especially with a distributor or broker.
Yeah. Me neither.
I'm going in there with X company.
Yeah.
And I want to go ahead and give my expertise to go ahead and show how I could go ahead and make a difference to go ahead and get some more value added for you. Because at the end of the day, it's good for me too.
Well, not only that, but it's and we talked about this last week, today, oftentimes, and that's a bit of an anomaly there too, the way you're describing it, because oftentimes you've got, the resellers, oh, no, I'll do it myself. You can't come in there with me. And it's kind of like, you could try to learn the 35 years of experience that I have, but why don't you just let me come in there with you? I'll sign an NDA. I'll do whatever. I'm looking to help you make money faster. Right. The faster I can comprehend what the customer wants, that you don't have to digest and then give it to me. If I'm able to be there with you, I don't care whether it's a Zoom meeting or face-to-face, but if you can find that information out and be able to really pursue something, you're going to save weeks on the whole entire process instead of waiting till the next time you talk to the guy. I think there's such a huge
time, okay? Because they're really trying to grab as much information as they can. They'll go ahead and say, okay, here's this box. We wanted something like that, but not exactly. Well, what is it that you want? What does the customer want? And they want something different. Okay, how about if I get on a phone call with them and find, because we could be turning our wheels. I could give you 13 different design boxes that we could do. I could go ahead and run it on Flexo. Do they want high graphics? Do they not want it? Do they want a brown box? What is it they want? Oh, I didn't ask those questions. Yes. If I would have been with you, we could have answered those questions and been able to go ahead and close this faster than our competition.
Do you notice, and this is a personal question, but sometimes I've had to really learn how to not get so agitated with that. How have you learned to because you're such a calm, you've got such a calm demeanor. Were you ever kind of like, I only told you that 12 times. I mean, it's just like, how have you learned to not get so agitated by it?
I'll ask you not to talk to my wife. Okay.
And I'll ask that you don't talk to my wife too. So that's cool. I appreciate it. Good.
Seriously, over the years, you calm down. But there were times that you just get so frustrated and angry at situations. But you know what? It doesn't matter.
I know.
That comes with age, I guess, because it's not going to solve it. It's not going to get any better. You've got to be able to work with who you're working with and make it happen. That's all.
Yeah. And I just, and that's just refreshing for me to hear too, that I'm not alone. There are times and I'm just like, and I try not to get short and I try to encourage them and because it's let me ask you, so, all right. So let me lead into, which ties into today's young people. We were talking about getting into the world of selling on price, not on value. Was there a time in your past, your career, that light bulb kind of went off for you, that you went like, you know what, this price thing is, I'm not going to make any money? When did you start, or did you always kind of start with the, hey, I'm going to go after the value? Give me a little bit of a background on that.
I really always came off the value. Going off of price and going ahead and competing against the penny, it's not going to matter.
I know.
That customer is always going to beat you down.
Yeah.
You're going to take some of them. You're going to go ahead and lose them. You're going to go ahead and quote a company, 100 times, 200 times. I have the joy sometimes of firing my customers.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
okay.
No, and that's really that, and that's okay. It has to be like that. It has to be.
Yeah.
Which really kind of led into, now firing a customer is a difficult kind of, but it feels so good to be able to, not in a jerkish kind of way, but to be able to say, I don't think we're a fit here, Steve. I got to tell you, this is going down a wrong path, and I don't think, and setting boundaries like that, was that hard for you initially?
A little bit, because you never want to say no. And
I know.
And that next opportunity could be the grandeur that you were waiting for.
Yeah, I know.
It does get to a point, and you got to understand, how much time are you spending with this customer and not receiving any results for it.
Right.
If you continue to go down that path, you're going to find more and more customers that same way, and you're going to waste your time with these customers versus going after the target customers that really appreciate your value added.
Yeah. And again, and if you don't, I hear all too often, I know you can relate to this because I talk to people and they're like, oh, hey, guess what? I talked with an ex-customer and I'm running a case of tape out there right now. They ran out, so I'm going to run out there, thinking that they're doing something of value. Like, wait a minute. We've all fallen for that. And it's not don't do a nice, thing for somebody. But if it becomes their problem and their 911 to call you and you become their delivery person, what are you getting back in return? Are you getting hey, I can run this out to you, but I need 10 minutes of your time because I need to go over this display project and I need to make sure, or you kind of guide me. But that's the thing that just like, it hurts my heart when I see people doing that, thinking that the customer's just going to open up. There's gotta be some boundaries, and you've got to be able to say, okay, I could do that, but what am I going to get in return? You may not come right out and say it, but you got to make sure you get something for your time. Yes. Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's what we're working for. And time is precious. Okay.
Yeah.
It's very difficult, especially in Los Angeles area. No matter where you drive, it's 2 to 3 hours to go to a customer sometimes nowadays.
Wow.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
The COVID days were wonderful. I hate to say that.
I know. I know, man. And again, COVID also in my world really exposed a lot of companies that passed themselves off as a manufacturer. We had a lot of companies that suddenly were, back to Betty the clerk. Betty the clerk is making these calls. Oh my God, I need this, I need that. I've never heard from you before. What do you? Well, Berlin Packaging said they manufacture it here, but they don't. They're just buying it and selling it. Yeah, I get it. And again, there's certain things that it really helped us. I mean, COVID really exposed a lot of that, and it's not a niche for everybody, but you got to understand that having the conversations with the client and making sure that they understand the supply chain piece of it and understand they see the big picture piece of this. But that, it's so much of today's Betty the clerk buyer lives in a Uline society and just doesn't see that there's more to this. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, you also have, because of, obviously the past and whatever.
Yeah.
You'll go ahead and go into a company and probably 50% of them are working out of their home.
Yeah.
That buyer is, making phone calls or doing Zoom calls because they're at their house,
Yeah.
Taking care of their kids or doing whatever.
Yeah, no. And again, I've seen it. Our staff, most of our staff, we have an office and we get together once in a while if necessary, but we're virtual for the simple fact that we were virtual way before COVID, because I thought we could really hire a much better quality person, because they did want to get Johnny on the bus in the morning. and get them off the bus. But during that time, they wanted to be enmeshed in work.
Yep.
And I love that. As long as it's not taken advantage of, I don't care. You want to throw a load of laundry in, whatever. You got to go to the dentist, go to the dentist. But
it takes that mindset for them. We're in a hybrid system.
yeah.
The customer service and planners and things come in the office, I think, once or twice a week. Some come home.
Yeah.
But for the most part, they're working out of their homes, and you know what? You don't miss a beat.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. Well, I want to make sure I touch base on a couple of things because you've had such an interesting journey and you've had some bumps in the road and you've had some very difficult times. We're not going in to regurgitate actual things. What I'm saying is I also want to make sure I get from you, Steve, because there's a resilience that you almost have to have when you get into this. I don't care what the career is, but let's just you and I talk from packaging. When the shit hits the fan and things kind of give you these curveballs, work-wise, professionally, and you're hitting all over the place, how is it that you've always plowed through? You've always gotten through. It can't be easy. And I want to make sure that these young people today, or anybody young at heart, understands that everybody has problems. Everybody has issues professionally, and everybody has to develop that kind of determination and grit to keep going. This isn't the time to just, I'll become a banker now. I'm going to go back and work in the finance. How did you get through some of those really bumps in the road? What was that like for you?
That was probably my hardest. Okay. I'm a nice, trusting person.
Yeah.
That's my fault. Okay. Because I expect when somebody says something to me that they're going to live up to it.
Yeah.
I expect to be treated like a human being.
Yeah.
I expect to be able to do what I need to do to be able to perform.
Yeah.
I continue to perform, but at the same time, I think it's so important that no matter how old you are, no matter how young you are, that if you're in an environment that is very hostile, move on.
Yeah.
It took me a long time. It took me a tremendous amount of time to understand that there's better out there.
Yeah.
There's better manufacturers out there. There's better people out there.
Yeah.
I literally, for many, many years, kind of lost my family because I'm a take work first, take family second.
Yeah.
And now I realize you could replace work, but you can't replace family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just so well. And that's what I wanted to make sure that at least we captured some of that with you and I on this, because that really, at the end of the day, man, that's what really matters. And
Absolutely.
Yeah, we all love making money and we all love being successful and doing that. That's great. But there's got to be, it just, I remember seeing this from that early 95 into now, especially in the States, overseas, these guys take a month vacation. And by the way, what a concept where people back them up and do, hey, I'm working for Sally this week or Steve. And then he comes back from his sabbatical in a month or whatever. Over here, we're lucky if we get Christmas and Christmas Eve off.
That's
You know what I mean? And we're just kind of like, well, you got it? You got it? Is the stuff there?
Yeah. And it's funny over at Bay Cities now, it's like, you mean I get Christmas off? You mean I can take Thanksgiving and be with my family? And it's like,
I know.
It's like, no, I got to be on the phone. At the same time, my phone's 24/7 to whatever it needs to be. Okay.
Right.
But we have policies at our company, okay? That means Saturdays, pretty much nobody's picking up the phone. I go, why isn't anybody picking up the phone? So for me, it's a life-changing, but it's the best thing that could have ever happened.
Yeah.
And it took me many, many, many years to say, I don't care, there's value to me.
Yeah.
There's value that I bring to people for the experience that I have.
Yeah.
And no matter whether you've been in this business for a year or 2 years, if you're not getting the respect you deserve, if you deserve it, move on.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I just love that take too. And you've spoken so highly about Bay City. I want to make sure that, and what I'll do after this and we produce this and clean this up, I'll get the contact information and anything else for you and Bay City, because I think that's really this is a cool Sounds like such a cool company that you're working with here that just,
Not only that, they're an ESOP. Okay.
yeah.
So we've got some manufacturing people that have been there for 30, 40 years, and they've got over $1 million in their bank when they retire.
How about that? I love it.
It's phenomenal. We just had our Christmas party, and they started talking about, all the different, people that have been there for, 30, 35 years.
Yeah.
I walked away from a company for 30 years with zero.
Yeah.
People are going to walk away with millions of dollars in their pocket because
That's nice.
they supported the company. The company has a different outlook also by being an ESOP. By everybody's an owner.
I know. I love that.
Everybody, our shares for the company depend on how we perform.
Wow.
And the more we perform, the more, people are going to take advantage of, or not take advantage, but be able to recruit not only their salary, but they got a nest egg at the end of the day.
Yeah. And that to me is the American dream. Let's face
Absolutely.
it. From the very beginning, that was, be able to kind of feel appreciated and do something that's of value and get something in return. What a concept. You know what I mean?
I mean, we talked pensions back, years ago where we had, there's no pensions anymore.
No.
Yeah, we got 401ks. Most of
Right.
the companies aren't even matching anymore.
Right.
But to be part of a company that truly believes that everybody's, a success for your company, not just one person, it's a different atmosphere. It's awesome.
Well, and the one thing that I wanted people to really get as we land this plane here for today, that there was our connection. Number one, it comes right through, whether it's in a Zoom call or a live stream, that A, you love what you're doing. B, you love who you're doing it for. Being a true sales professional, Steve, and I'm not blowing smoke at you, that's one of those things that I think is a lost art. And I really am hoping to kind of, you've seen me on LinkedIn where my goal is to reignite that packaging reseller, reignite the passion. Sure. Because, you got to be able to kind of, get in there and mix your way through there and really take it. And I just love the fact that since the minute we met, you've always spoken so highly of what you're doing now. And I just think that comes out so loud and clear as such a breath of fresh air. You know what I mean? It's glad. I'm glad. It's sad that not a lot of other people feel that way in this crazy world, but I love the fact that, you guys continue to just kill it, doing what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Do you see yourself doing this for 20 more years, Steve?
God, no. But what I would like to do, the years that I have left, whether it's 5, 6, whatever it is, I really would love to be able to help the young, to be able to bring them to because it is a frustrating industry. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But guess what? It's never going away.
No.
This is an industry that has to happen no matter what. We see everything coming from overseas, and it's frustrating because, I can't compete with overseas. Nobody can compete with overseas. The pricing is just ridiculous. Right. But there's other opportunities that are there, and especially for the young, they'll get frustrated. They'll get angry. It's like, I'm not landing anything. I'm not hitting anything. When I went to Bay Cities, I thought, all my customers are going to come over to me and it's going to be all wonderful. It takes time. It really takes time. And you got to be patient. You got to continue to hit the streets. You got to continue to hunt. Yeah. I don't care what age you are. If you aren't there hunting every single day and understanding, you're not going to find attrition happens. Yeah. And eventually you're going to lose the customer that you had, many, many years with. But if you're not out there hunting and replenishing that business, you're going to die at the vine. Yeah,
and especially if you don't add any value, if your own value and worth is running out of case of tape to this person, then you're basically going to be eliminated any moment. But if your value in is a partnership that goes beyond, kind of like what you described here, where you guys do so many different parts as they go into that funnel, so to speak, that you've got them a lot more securely than many other companies. If it's a one-off, I'm going to quote you on these bags, and then they go to the other guy, I'm going to quote you on a partition, and then you go to the other guy and it's going to quote on a master carton or whatever it is. You've got all this nonsense. To be able to kind of be in there like you guys have set up, and then be able to really take it and make their lives easier. That's an example that I really wanted to kind of capture here for today's young people, that you have to always hunt, but if you bring value and you're supportive and you do what you say you're going to do, you will eventually come out on top. Fair?
Without a doubt. Yeah.
Would you, and I was going to ask, but I think you just wrapped it up there too. I was going to ask if you had any parting thoughts for the young people, but you did. You said it. You just have to keep grinding. You have to, and grinding sounds like it's rough and it's terrible.
Don't give up.
Don't give up. Yeah. Yeah. Did you always, let me ask you as we'll let you go. Was that always, the don't give up? Did you have to, when you, okay. Yeah. I'm with you.
Yeah. It's a mindset. If you, there's times you walk home or you drive home and whatever, and you knock on 10 doors and every one of them kind of, slam the door on your face. That's okay.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's a new day.
I know, man. And that's really, and that speaks volumes right there too. And that to me, I don't care whether you're selling packaging or vacuums, whatever it is, you got to kind of go through those difficult times. Sometimes it's a numbers game. But again, there's little things that you can do that'll set yourself up to be more important, to be more valuable to that customer, where they actually look to give you more business because they know, hey, Steve's going to take care of this. I don't have to worry about how Steve's going to do it or when he's going to do it, because I can just say, Steve, I need this back mid-January. Can you handle it? Yes. Great. Talk to you later. That to me is what I want to impress the young people, because I really think that that's something you could never fail on something like that.
Without a doubt. And you know what, I'm here, I'm talking with you. I'm available. And somebody's got a question for me. Somebody's got, to just brainstorm.
Yeah.
I love talking to people about this industry and how they're ever changing, how it's, again, we're consolidating again.
Yeah.
It goes out, it goes in.
Yeah.
It goes
Yeah.
All we're doing is, you're not seeing anything change because it's happened over the years where, consolidation has taken place and then they separate and what have you, but there's always room for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Steve, this has been a thrill for me. I really enjoyed this. Thank you for joining us. I want to make sure that what I'll do when I clean this up, I'll put some information out on how to reach Bay City and you and anything like that. This was really, really cool for me. And it was a thrill for me to be able to do this with you. I appreciate it.
Well, great. Let's not stop here. I'm enjoying it.
No, I'm with you, brother.
Hi, everyone. It's David Marinak. I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you want to see more, here's another video that you can check out, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks.